Hello, all you soap fans. My name is Casey Hutchison, and this is the second episode of the Daytime Indulgence podcast. I would like to go ahead and welcome my co-host, Diann Lewis. How are you, hun?
I am fine. How are you, Casey?
I am doing quite well. Before we jump in, I had talked to Diann about this. I would like to dedicate this episode to John Convoy, who for many, many years spent his life in the soap opera genre. He was known for really taking soaps to the next level. Mainly, his main work was at Windar. And in my eyes, from what I read up, he was really um, the executive producer who took Y&R and made it into what we know today. Um, and he was just an amazing man. I knew a little bit about him personally, and he will definitely be missed. I just want to read over his credits real quick. He was the executive producer of the CBS soap opera Capital from 1982 to 87. He was the executive producer of Guiding Light from 2002 to 2004. He was a producer at Love is a Mini Splendor Thing, 1970 through 73. He was an executive producer at Santa Barbara from July 1991 to December 1991. And of course, his biggest credit, he was the executive producer at The Young and the Restless from March 26, 1973, the first day, to February 1982. And he will greatly be missed.
Yes, he will.
All right, so now we can talk about our soaps. And we're going to start with Days of Our Lives. It was revealed that John is actually the one poisoning Steve. So, Diann, what did you think when you heard this reveal?
It actually has me baffled. Given the fact that we all had several theories of who could be doing this, and not once, in my opinion, did it point towards John. So I'm really just trying to figure this one out. I've seen some stories, and it might have something to do with some previous programming that John had received in the past. But I don't know. I'm just going to have to keep watching and see what's going on with John.
And I have to agree with you. When I heard about it, I was quite shocked. I was like, Steve's best friend is poisoning him. But, I think depending on what Ron's reasoning is going to be, I think it'd be a great mystery. I have no idea what the reasoning is behind it, but I'm really, really intrigued to find out.
So I'm intrigued also. This one just really, I would never have guessed it was John, because
yeah.
fitting.
Out of all people, I mean, when the story broke, people were saying, this person from John's past, or maybe Orpheus's son or daughter. And, I thought, okay, maybe it's going to be one of Orpheus's children. And then I saw that promo for John, and I was like, oh my God, like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
So let's move on to one of the show's couples, Rafe and Rope. There was a picture released on social media. Christian Alfonso posted it when her and Galen Gehring were taking a break, and they were still in character as far as fans could tell, but no one saw a ring on Rafe's finger. And so now many fans are speculating that the couple will call it quits before the summer, because as you know, the show tapes 6 months ahead, and my guess is they were taping an episode post break up. So do you think Rafe and Hope will call it quits before the summer?
Okay, this is the way I look at it. Yes, the missing link is suspect, but I'm not going to say that they're going to call it quits. I'm just going to stay hopeful.
Now, see, I am with many Days of Our Lives fans on this one. I have not cared for the couple. And if you follow me on my social media platforms, then you definitely know I haven't cared for them. And so, if they are calling it quits for good because of Rafe's secret when that comes out, then I will be one very happy Days of Our Lives viewer. Because I don't get why the executives and the producers and the writers, hell, even the actors, I don't get why they think we love this when we don't. Nobody loves Rafe and Hope. I think I've encountered 2 people, literally, not exaggerating. I think I've literally encountered 2 people who like this couple.
But think about this, Casey. There's the people that say they are hopeful. There's the romances. I mean, there are some fans for Rafe and Hope.
I only see Rafe as a Bo copy, and that's what ignores me so much. I mean, he might as well just start calling Caroline Ma. I mean, it irks me so much. And, you know, in the beginning, I didn't mind the couple. I was kind of warming up to them in the beginning in their first month of being together. And then they made him into this Bo copy. And Hope only had one big true love, and that was obviously Bo. You can't recapture that. However, what you can do is you can make a relationship for a woman of a certain age.
That's true.
So stop trying to make Rafe Bo. So we'll move on to another couple, Jennifer and Eric. So Jennifer heard from Anna that Eric was thinking about Nicole, and that kind of threw the relationship for a loop. And Jennifer went out with this very sexy doctor, Dr. Shaw. So who do you want Jennifer with? Do you still want her with Eric? Or do you even in the first place want her with Eric?
I think their relationship was, pretty interesting, Jennifer and Eric. It's possible that it is time for Jennifer to move on and try something different. I don't know. I guess the age difference with Jennifer and Eric, that I felt like there was a lot more that could go on with the storyline, but there's just been so much with those two and the back and forth. I don't know. I mean, who are you with, Eric or the new doctor?
I am a Jennifer and Eric fan. I am a huge, huge fan of them. And this is kind of the relationship I want for Hope, because I feel like, the writers know Jennifer had one big true love, Jack, Jennifer and Jack.
Right.
But they're writing a relationship for Jennifer that I think is very real, Jack's been dead for 5 years now. And Jennifer will always love Jack, and her heart will always be with Jack. However, Jennifer isn't dead yet. Jennifer isn't old. Melissa Reeves is, I don't even think she's 50 yet. But the thing is they're writing a very realistic relationship for Jennifer, much better than the relationship they tried with Daniel and Jennifer, because they had no chemistry, in my opinion. However, I think Eric and Jennifer, Melissa Reeves and Greg Vaughn, have a very natural chemistry that is easy to warm up to, in my opinion. But, I've heard 50-50. I've heard 50% of the audience loves Jennifer and Eric like I do, and 50% just want them off the screen. But, those other 50% want Jack to come back full time, and so do I. But I've heard that that's not going to happen anytime soon in the near future.
I mean, honestly, I think that there could be more with the Jennifer and Eric storyline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they were to do more with it, I would definitely be attracted to it because it's just something, like you say, that's very realistic in this, in this time. So, I mean, I would watch it. I would go with Jennifer and Eric, and I would definitely watch. So, yeah.
So we'll move away from our Days of Our Lives couples and we'll go in to a little darker side of the show. So the Andre murder mystery has kicked off. And my question to you is do you think Andre will end up coming back as Tony?
I think so. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I know that, it's been a rumor for quite some time. There's nothing set in stone yet, but, I believe that the writers are leaning that way. Because, and it could go both ways. One, they could have just wanted a red hot murder mystery to kick off the year and really intrigue viewers. Or they killed him off so they could do a Tony storyline. And I'm leaning more towards the Tony thing just because of who Ron is as a writer. And I bet Ron has gone, oh, these men look the same. And, this one's dead, but, hello, it's daytime and it's Days of Our Lives. So, he could certainly come back. And, we know Ron has always been a big fan of those twin lookalikes. Hello, he started his tenure off at this show with double doppelgangers. So, I'm thinking that Tony will come back.
I agree.
So, we'll move on to something that kind of saddened me in the week. I think it was Thursday's episode. Theo officially made his exit. He's going to Africa to get his health fully back on track. What did you think of Theo's exit?
I actually thought it was a suitable exit for Theo. We've been saying that, okay, yes, he's going to go to get help with healing so that he can live a better life. I think that was just befitting of the character situation. Mm-hmm. And overall, I wish Kyler the best on his new endeavors.
And my thing was about the whole thing is I hate when soaps do an exit for the character, but not all the people that mean something to the character are there. I absolutely despise that. But with Theo, everybody I could think of that means something to this character was there. And I feel like that was very respective towards the character and towards the character that the viewers love. So kudos to Days for really covering their bases and making sure everybody was there and making sure the exit was good for who the character was. I really enjoyed the exit. So now we'll move on to The Young and the Restless, where it was quite the busy week. We'll just start off right away. Do you think Graham is really dead?
Who knows? It's Graham. It's Graham. This is just this. Webinar was wonderful this week. I'm like, did Dina really do that? Graham, it's like, what happened? But I'm not sure if Graham's dead. I'm thinking with a character like that, it's very possible that he could come back. There could be some underlying story there. I don't know. I don't know. I just can't, right now, I can't wrap it around my brain that he is actually dead. I don't think go out that quickly. How about you?
I actually think he's dead. Just just because of some behind the scenes stuff. Mal Young is, since he took over, he's really been trying to get rid of most of Sally's creations. He got rid of Jordan in a flash. And there was another character, Juliet. I almost forgot her name. She was gone in a flash. And so why not Graham? I mean, it's Tessa, Graham, and Jordan and Juliet were Sally Sussman's main creations. And, 3 of the 4 are gone. And so since 2 left so abruptly, I wouldn't doubt that the 3rd, Graham, is gone for good. And honestly, the story just needs to move along. And if they brought him back, I would just be kind of disappointed because that if they brought him back, it would be the big cliffhanger Friday. And here's the thing. That stuff is not exciting anymore. In fact, that's why soap fans tune out. Stop doing that. Just have him dead in the story.
I see your point. I do.
So, speaking of Graham, let's concentrate on his wife now. So, Dina has slashed Nikki. She has burnt down a nightclub. She has stolen a baby with Graham's help, and now she has killed a man, for all we know. So, where do you think the Dina character will go now?
There's just no telling with Dina. I mean, like you said, her track record is something else. You did say last week, though, that you thought Dina would be the one to take Graham out.
Yeah, that's true. I called it.
So I was thinking, I don't think she'll go that far, but you were right. So with that being said, there is no telling where Dina's going from here.
My thing is I tell you what, this lady is racking up more crimes than Stefano DiMera. I mean, my lord. I've never seen somebody work so fast on a soap. And she's done all of those crimes in a year.
I know, right?
My thing is here's the thing. They can either go there's 2 roads, for this character. One, they can make the Alzheimer's an actual real and viable story. Because I liked it in the beginning. I did, but it's gotten so plot driven that it's, sometimes I forget she has Alzheimer's and I'm like, oh, she's the show's new villainess with the heart of gold. So that's the first route. They can actually turn this Alzheimer's into a viable story. Or the second route is something my mother came up with, which is quite interesting. And that's what if Dina knew who Graham was all along and she was faking the Alzheimer's just to mess with him, and she was going to end up trying to get him out of her life for good, except her plan went off course and he ended up dead.
Wow. Now that's brilliant. I can see that. I can really see that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Because
you know what? That could very well have been her plan.
I hope Mal Young's listening to this podcast and scrapping a bunch of scripts right now.
All right.
But
but that's good. That's a good story. That's a good story.
It would be. And, it would finally turn Dina into what I've wanted her to be all along. Because Dina should have came on as the Catherine replacement. The Young and the Restless is missing that class system that the show became famous for. And I feel like Dina would bring that Catherine-esque class system back into the show. We really need these sarcastic, snotty rich lady, you know? We really need that central Wyandotte focus back into the show. So now we'll go to kind of something that I wanted to discuss for a while. And that's, what couple are you rooting for this year? Because what we are seeing is we're seeing a lot of love stories kind of beginning, but they're really going nowhere at the moment. So what couple are you rooting for in 2018 on The Young and the Restless?
I'm rooting for Lily and James.
Yeah, you probably the only one. I don't like them. They're boring as hell. Like, okay.
Well, I know you said that last week, but still, it's possible that there could be some spice added to their relationship. I mean, there's a possibility. Spice up the rivalry.
Because, I was also saying last week that this is the first time I've cared for the couple, and it is. And I cared for them up until this past week, because it went back to the same couple, where Kane does something absolutely terrible, and Lily apologizes for him. When he faked that he was Philip Chancellor III, Lily defended him after a week of being mad at him. And when he kissed Lauren, she defended him. And then she went off and slept with Joe Clark. But anyway, I allowed Lily that whole pass after what Kane has done. And then, before that, he didn't tell Lily that he had an evil twin, and that evil twin almost ended up killing their children, but yet she defends him. And, that's one of the reasons I can't stand this couple, is because Lily is always apologizing for Kane's awful mistakes. It's really almost an emotionally abusive marriage, because he just does this awful stuff to her, and she accepts it and apologizes on his behalf. So, yeah.
Well, when you look at it from that, standpoint, I'm going to change my mind.
Yeah. Now I have a point.
Valid point.
But anyway, the couple I am rooting for this year is one of Wyandotte's biggest couples in many, many years, and that is the one, the only, Havon. I am a huge Hillary and Devon fan. I always have been. When the couple started out, they were scandalous. It was very taboo, presented in a new way. And when they got their divorce, I was very upset, because I'm like, that puts an end to the very classic soap scandal that they were. And, we've seen some flickerings of they might get back together, they might not. They've flirted on and off for a couple of months now. But I'm really hoping that 2018 will be the year that Devon and Hillary get back together.
Okay.
Well, when you said it like that, what's your thoughts on Devon and Hillary?
Okay, I mean, after what you brought up about Lily and Kane, I'm going to have to start to watch Hillary one more. They may come and change my mind.
All right. So let's move on. We kind of mentioned her earlier. One of Sally Sussman's creations was the character Tessa Porter. And we are at this point now with Tessa where her singing career is kind of taken off. We saw her steal Mariah's journal, which held Mariah's inner thoughts about her sexuality struggle and her struggle with her and Tessa's kiss behind her half-brother's back. And so Tessa did the bitchy move of stealing this journal, and then she made a song out of Mariah's words and performed it live on the Hillary Hour, as we saw. And so with this bitchiness, with this secret, with the music career, it's all getting kind of boring because honestly, they're holding back from a lot of stuff. And so my question to you is, because they're holding back from all of this, do you think there's even a point to the Tessa character sticking around in Genoa City? That they're not going to do anything?
Okay, as you said, they're not going to do more with the character or even tap into the fact that she is controversial and do more with the storyline. There's absolutely no reason to keep her around.
I completely agree with you, and I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now, because honestly, if Tessa is not eating Mariah out on Mariah's couch, then there's no point to the character. If Tessa ain't getting some kitty, then what's the point to the character? There's none. And, I saw the promo for this coming week, and it looks like The Secret may come out. But, if it does, okay, it comes out. I don't think Mariah would want a relationship with Tessa after Tessa stole her journal. And we know Noah isn't going to want a relationship with her. I mean, hello, she kissed his sister. I mean, so really, after that secret comes out, there's really no point to the character anymore because there's nowhere for her to go.
Right, she's very versatile.
So now we'll move on to General Hospital, and we'll kick off with one of the show's biggest marketing couples, and that is Frizz, Franco and Liz. This past week, many people on Twitter were getting frustrated that stories are only being told for Franco, and stories aren't being told for Liz, nor are they being told for the couple as a whole. So my question to you is do you think Franco and Liz are even worth it anymore as a couple?
I actually like Franco and Liz as a couple. I've been Team Liz for the last few months because I feel like they really had a genuine love connection. And that's something that Liz needed. She needed someone that genuinely loved her because before that she was pretty much just running around, just trying to get love from whoever would give it to her.
Oh, God.
When Franco came around, he actually showed her love. And then when she realized that he was genuine, I felt like their relationship was really great. But lately, especially after the Franco character has become so insecure, I'm not seeing that, and I'm not sure if they can bring that back because the characters have drifted. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing that passion that they had before. They've actually drifted. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where they can go from there because there's still going to be the storyline with, Jake, and there's still going to be a storyline with Jason there. So I'm not sure. And I'm not sure even if Liz is having mixed emotions now. The more time she's been with Jason will she continue to love Franco? I don't know. And will Franco, because Franco's still worried about what happened in his past. And it's just really, I think it's really detrimental to the relationship with Liz. So I don't know if it's still working. I don't even know if they can recapture that.
My thing with Liz and Franco is I haven't exactly been their biggest cheerleader, believe it or not. I've liked moments of the couple. I really have. But overall, I'm not a fan of the couple. And this whole thing of stories only being told for Franco is a big problem for me. They even made Liz's rapist getting released from prison after 20 some odd years all about Franco and Franco's feelings. Then I'm like, where's Liz's feelings? Franco wasn't raped by this guy, Liz was. And so that's my thing. They're only writing Franco material. And honestly, if it came down, let's say fans had to pick one. We have to lose either Becky Herbst as Liz or Roger Howarth as Franco. I'm sorry, but Roger Howarth would get the vote to leave, in my opinion, because Liz is the more important character, and Liz is connected to Port Charles in a big way. She's quite the legacy character. And so my thing is I would rather, if you're only going to write stories for one person in the relationship, then I would rather see a Liz story rather than a Franco story. And that's only if they're not going to write for the couple as a whole. Because honestly, Liz is more important. And her rapist getting released from prison should have been all about her and not all about Franco. And, her wanting to examine Franco's mind and her being all about his past. Like, no, I don't freaking care. I don't. Because to tell you the truth, Franco was only meant to be a 6-month character portrayed by James Franco. He wasn't meant to be this long-term 43-year character. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm not a fan of the couple.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, if they write again for them as a couple, then yes, I would like to see that. But right now, they're drifting, and there's really no thread. They're drifting apart.
So let's move on to another big GH couple, and that is Jason and Sam, Jason. They got their official divorce this past week. What did you think of the J-Sam divorce?
I am very happy with Jason and Sam. I was sad. Sam has gotten on my last nerve, and I'm just glad that that's over with. I really am. Jason doesn't need to be married to Sam, so I'm glad that they got that part, taken care of. I was really happy with that. What I wasn't happy with was the fact that Jason gave her a little bit too much money. He's a nice guy. I wouldn't have been that nice to Sam, but he gave her the money, and hey, whatever.
You're just like Diann. My thing was...
She gave her too much. Diann was like, you gave too much money. You don't really want to do this, but he was just trying so hard to make Sam happy. And I just feel like that was too much to give her. Just give her that, but don't give her all of that. He only gave him enough. Just need to let Drew bring in some type of income. Let him contribute.
Honestly, my thing about it is last week I said that I want more of Sam's emotions to be shown in the story. And this week they really were showing Sam's emotions. I got really shivers down my spine when Alexis was like, okay, we're going to discuss the custody of Danny. And Sam was just like, just stop. Like, I've been through enough. We've been through, just stop. And then I really enjoyed the scene where Sam said to Alexis, how dare you even bring that up, knowing that I would let Jason see Danny anytime he wanted. So I really liked that they were showing the emotional impact this roller coaster of upheaval has had for Sam. I really enjoyed the J-Sam divorce episode. From the flashbacks they used, which were great flashbacks, to Sam just saying to Alexis, "Shut the hell up." But I love you, Mom. I enjoyed it all. I thought it was very well written. And I'm going to spell a little T. So we have the dream Drew and Sam wedding coming up. And that's this coming week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Fans might be upset to hear this, fans of Dream, but I got confirmation that J-Sam is the end game, that they are the goal to get to. And so with that in mind, I'm going to add a little question that wasn't on our original roster for tonight. With that in mind, who do you think Drew should be with down the line?
That's difficult. Before I thought he should be with Kim.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think Kim is cool. The more we get to know this character, the cooler she's getting.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure who Drew should be with. Drew, I think there's more to him. There's a lot of different personalities that he has that no one has, quite discovered yet. And I just don't. I can't think of anyone in Port Charles that he should be with. I can't. Well, let me stop. You know what? Possibly Liz, because before we first got there, he did connect with Liz.
Oh yeah, and they had the interrupted wedding, and they did all that stuff, and they built a romance for them initially when Billy Miller was supposed to be Jason, before this whole Tale of Two Jasons thing. My thing is I am seeing a lot of chemistry between Billy Miller and Tamara Braun, who plays Kim currently.
Okay.
And I really like the chemistry they have. I feel like they play off of one another in scenes very well. Of course, they already have a built-in connection with Oscar. And so, since J-Sam is the end game, I really want Drew with Kim. But I did like the bond chemistry between Billy Miller and Becky Herbst that you mentioned.
Right.
So yeah, either Liz or Kim, but I don't want him with anybody new. I don't want him with anybody he hasn't interacted with yet. So yeah, Liz or Kim. Those are my choices.
And thinking about the character Kim basically has chemistry with quite a few people. She has chemistry with Julian. She has chemistry with Jason. So she could possibly end up with a number of people in Port Charles. I mean, she's just really easygoing. So.
And, that makes her sound like such a slut. She's really easygoing.
Yeah, but then you see her, I mean, she was basically flirting with Julian, and then she was flirting with Jason. I mean, she's getting to know more about him.
Tamara Braun kind of reminds me of Mara West in the sense that whichever man or even hell woman you put them in a scene with, they have chemistry. Like hell, I could buy Ava or even Kim as a lesbian because even in scenes with female stars, they have chemistry with them. Like it's it's such a rarity in daytime, and it's only happened for a few women and men that have chemistry with the whole cast. But anyway, speaking of Mara West, Wednesday was the Ava Jerome special episode, all 36 minutes dedicated to Ava. So what did you think of All About Ava?
That was an amazing episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was Ava, Mara West, she is an awesome actress. I loved every minute of that episode. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
I did too, and I didn't want it to end. When it got down to the final 5 minutes, I was like, no! My favorite part was her standing judgment in front of all the people she had dreamt up in that episode. I loved that. And I loved when she hollered at the top of her lungs, I am a changed woman. I felt it was literally sending like shivers down my spine. I was getting goosebumps just because Mara West is my favorite actress of all time. And she is my favorite soap actress of all time. And she can make you get glued to your screen. There was a period last year where General Hospital got quite unrecognizable. And she was the shining light for me. I literally tuned in to General Hospital last year because of Mara West. And I hope that the writers and the producers continue to realize what a shining star they have in their cast. It was an amazing episode. And
it really was.
I loved having Megan Ward back as Connie. Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it when I knew Brian Craig was coming, but I didn't know anything. Nobody knew anything really about Megan Ward. I was surprised to see that, but I was very happy to see Megan back on my GH screen.
It was awesome. I love seeing Avery as an adult.
Oh yeah, that actress was good.
That was I kept thinking, wow, can Avery grow up really fast now? Because I can see that she is going to be totally different from Kiki. She's not going to be as forgiving as Kiki is. And I like that. It seems like she will be the one that continues to challenge Ava. And I like that they made that her hair, the dark color and everything, that she looks more like on the sunny side. And I was like, can we hurry up and have her already? I'm sure it's an adult, but we got to wait because Avery's still a baby.
And I thought she was a good mix between Ava and Sunny, this actress. She had the look of Sunny, but she dressed like Ava. Like, she was very fashion forward. She did her makeup similar to Ava. And you know what? I kind of want Avery to be aged right now because I want that actress back on my screen. So, yeah, it was a phenomenal episode. Kudos to the cast and crew. And kudos to Mara West. And Mara West, you have an Emmy submission reel for the 46th annual Daytime Emmys. She can't use it for the 45th, of course, but she can use it for the 46th.
And what about?
Oh, go ahead.
And what about Morgan again?
Oh my gosh. I am a Brian Craig follower, and I've missed him so much, and having him back on my screen, just like Megan Ward, it was an amazing thing. I loved it, and it made me think to myself, why is Brian Craig not on General Hospital? Why is Brian Craig not snatched up by another soap? I mean, come on, are these people blind? Just an amazing actor.
It was. It was.
So, General Hospital, before that Ava-centric episode, got pretty darn serious. So, this past week, two major issues were talked about. Teen sex and transgender issues and finding out who you really are in high school. So what did you think of General Hospital approaching these topics?
Well, one of the things I enjoy about General Hospital is the fact that the show incorporates social issues into storylines. I thought it was ingenious to bring a storyline that has the teen sex, the reality of transgenders in today's society, and bullying. I don't think that I think that a lot of the time that people may say things, but they don't realize how it can be a form of bullying, or the fact that it could be actually considered a hate crime. And I like the fact that, General Hospital touched on this. And I specifically like the fact that Oscar and Joyce were presented alike. They're teenagers. We're talking about teen sex, but they weren't presented as sixth grade teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that type of thing. So I really like that they did something different with a teen sex, storyline. And they showed them as responsible teenagers. They showed them as being 14-year-olds, not real true 14-year-olds, not trying to, move too fast. And I did like how Carly came in and told her own story, her first experience. I felt like they did well, and I like the fact that Josh, her and Oscar are organizing the dance and, standing up for their classmates, saying that, we deserve to be free, whatever, however we want to dress. We shouldn't have to be conditioned to think that you're supposed to be that way. And I just really I did like it. I like this showing teenagers as responsible teenagers, not wild, crazy teenagers. It was refreshing.
To me, it reminded me of General Hospital in the 1990s. It tackled the issue very organically. Carly and Jocelyn talking about teen sex reminded me of when Mac had that discussion when it came to Robin and Stone. And I was just in awe of those scenes. It wasn't anything standing out, like we all know General Hospital isn't going to submit those scenes for their outstanding daytime drama reel, but it is something that is going to stand out with the rest of the year, I think. And with the transgender and bullying discussion, I was just in awe that they were tackling that issue so beautifully.
Yes.
They really orchestrated something that is not talked about across the television landscape enough. And I liked, like I said, it was the whole entire conversation was woven in so organically to the material. It wasn't forced. Shelley and Chris weren't trying to preach at us. It was just like another day, and this happens to be the discussion. I loved that, and I wish more soaps would adopt that way of thinking when discussing these very important social issues.
Did it put you in remembrance of All My Children?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely did. And like I said, it made me think of classic 1990s General Hospital, because the 1990 landscape of General Hospital was very realistic and very social issue oriented. We had Monica's breast cancer, we had Stone's AIDS. So I'm glad that they decided to get back to a decade that was loved by everybody.
Right. Right. It's awesome.
So now we'll move on to a bombshell that was broken upon soap fans yesterday. Our friends at Daytime Confidential broke that Genie Francis, who portrays Laura, is not on contract anymore. She is on recurring, and there is now even rumors going around at rapid speed that she is leaving the show, not quitting, but in a firing capacity. So what do you think of these rumors about her potentially being fired, and what do you think of her being dropped to recurring status with the show?
Okay, it surprised me that she was dropped to recurring status because she's just now really getting a storyline. I mean, we're seeing more. Laura just got married. I mean, she was running for mayor. So why all of a sudden, okay, she's dropped to recurring and she has to drop out of the race and she's going to be with Spencer? I was confused. I'm like, what happened? But then the same thing happened with, what's her name? Diann's ex. She got pregnant and we thought she was going to be around a while and all of a sudden she's gone. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, okay, well, she's there now. She's established. She's with Ben. They were having a baby, so she's going to be around. And then all of a sudden we find out that she's leaving. But with Genie Francis, someone that has been with General Hospital for so long, I really don't understand this unless this is something that she wants. I can't really understand it on the other end.
It was reported, and I've heard from my inside sources, that Genie did not want to be dropped to recurring. In fact, I heard she was quite blindsided by the decision. And I've heard since she has returned full-time that she has wanted to work every single day. And so I don't understand why, when a vet that is the most important legacy character and I'm just going to say this, the most important female character of all time for General Hospital. I mean, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Genie Francis is the Susan Lucci of General Hospital.
Very true.
And so I don't understand why she wants to work, but they won't let her. Because usually you hear the vets don't want to work anymore. And, you know, of course, studios are fine with that because they don't want to waste the money. But when a vet wants to work and you don't let her, I think that is basically rude to the actress. And I think that is rude to the house that Genie Francis helped build at General Hospital. And I think it's also rude to the fans who want to see Laura. Us fans don't want to see Michael. I mean, not Michael. Nell. Well, some fans don't want to see Michael. You know, we don't want Nell. We don't want Peter August. We don't want characters like Martina Morales popping up anymore. We want Laura. We want Bobby. We want Felicia. We want Mac. We basically want everybody that's on recurring. And General Hospital, I'm just shocked. In all this, you know, this whole decision lies at the feet of Frank Valentini. Because this was his decision. Therefore, the writers are not to blame because we all know they had a story outline for Laura and the mayor thing and, you know, her new marriage to Kevin. I'm very upset with Frank Valentini. And honestly, at this point, he needs to go. This should be the smoking gun. This should be it for him at General Hospital. I want to read a tweet from Jamie Giddens, who broke the news at Daytime Confidential, because I think this sums up everybody's feelings quite well. So Jamie Giddens said on Twitter, Frank Valentini gives interviews about casting boyfriends, and he's talking about Wes Ramsey, Laura Wright's boyfriend, in the parking lot, while marginalizing the one star on his canvas to cover Newsweek and People. And then he tagged Genie Francis in the tweet. I think that was very well said, and I think that sums up a lot of feelings of what people are feeling at the moment about this. So now, let's just go ahead and we'll move into our last soap to discuss, and that's Bold and Beautiful. Quite a busy week on Bold and Beautiful with the dismantling of Liam and Steffi's relationship. He served her with divorce papers. So do you think that in the future Liam should go back to Steffi?
No. You know how I feel about that. I do not want Liam to go back to Steffy. Liam, he's a good guy. He deserves to be with someone that really loves him. And I personally don't think that Steffy loves him. And she definitely doesn't respect him. So, no, I mean, she did everything. She begged, she knocked the paper out of his hands, want them. But he stood his ground, and he was so nice. He told her, they can work on being co-parenting, but they cannot continue the marriage. He didn't insult her. He was just really nice about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I think, honestly, this should either fully be it for the couple, or it should be it for the couple for a couple of years. I just think, at this point, Liam and Steffy need a break. One, from each other, and two, as a couple. They've gone around so many times in the past 5-6 years that it's not even worth having them as a couple anymore. If you're not going to write them properly. Because honestly, I think this should have been the marriage that stuck it out for a little while. But, it didn't, of course. And since it didn't, Steffy and Liam, they just need a break from one another. Let's move on to another bold and beautiful couple. Brooke and Ridge. They are engaged to be married again. If they get married this time, this will be Brooke's record-breaking 16th marriage. Currently, her and Victor Newman from The Young and the Restless are tied. They both have 15, so if she gets married, she beats him as first place. Woohoo! And this will also be Brooke and Ridge's 7th marriage to each other. So, anyway, do you think Brooke and Ridge will actually make it down the aisle this time?
I'm going to say, I think that Rick and Thorne are going to try to do something to stop it. I just feel like they don't want this to happen, and they know that, Ridge works pretty quick because, no sooner than those papers were signed, he was breaking out the ring, hey, we're getting married. He was trying to say, I'm single. He was like, no, you're not single. So, I think that they're going to come up with a plan to stop the marriage. And it's very possible that they may be able to do something because now that Ridge knows about his daughter with Bill, he's going to be a little distracted.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I think that Rick and Thorne, or at least maybe Thorne solo, somebody will try and stop the wedding, but I think they'll be too late. I think maybe Brooke and Ridge will kiss just as somebody walks in to stop the wedding. And honestly, here's the thing. 2 things can happen with this story. 1, they get married. If they get married, make it the final marriage. Whether they stay together or they get divorced. It's getting too tiring. And honestly, I would allow more marriages if Ron Moss was in the role, but since Torsten is in the role, Bridge doesn't have that snap, crackle, pop effect anymore. Honestly, it's quite boring, and I don't see any chemistry between Catherine Kelly Lang and Torsten K. But if they do stay together or if they get divorced, just make it the final marriage. So that's the first road. The second road is if the wedding is interrupted, somehow work it into a Torsten K exit story. Because, rumblings have been going around for years now that Torsten will leave the show. And if he is going to leave the show, then I think he and Brooke's wedding ceremony being interrupted will be a perfect way to work into a Ridge exit story. You know, Brooke chooses Thorne, and at the same time, Ridge could see that Forrester International needs his talent, you know? So that's the two roads. I just hope they pick one of those roads because honestly, I don't see how the story could go beyond those two paths.
It's going to be interesting.
It definitely will be, and I'm interested to see what happens with the story. So another bold and beautiful couple that is heating up the bedroom is Katie and Wyatt. And as you know, Wyatt is Bill's son and Katie is his ex-wife. And Bill has yet to learn who his son is a-bangin'. And we've seen maybe some foreshadowing of it, like, you know, Bill's toyed around with him, like, oh, I know Wyatt has a woman in his life. So anyways, when do you think Bill will finally learn about Katie and Wyatt? And do you think this secret is dragging out too long?
I honestly think it may drag out a little longer. Right now, Bill's mind is totally consuming Steffy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's where everything's going to go. He wants Steffy. There's no doubt about that. And like I said, now that Ridge knows, there's a lot that's going to go on with that. Especially given the fact that Steffy's already told him that the relationship is over. I honestly think that he's just going to say, you know what, I'm just going to be with Steffy because he's already told her that he wasn't going to leave her. He wasn't going to leave her alone. So it's going to be pretty much a situation with Steffy, Liam, and Bill. Everything's going to be there. I don't make it come later on. But right now, I think everything will be centered around that.
You know, I completely agree with you. Just because Bill is so distracted, I think the secret will drag out a little longer. Because, you know, I think Bold is very set on telling the Steffy, Liam, Bill story rather than focusing on the Katie Wyatt secret.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think it will drag out a little bit longer.
You know, the thing about it is, it's obvious that Bill is just in love with Steffy. But Steffy keeps, it's like I'm not sure where her feelings are for Bill. I can't tell. I don't know if she really, you know, or if it's just like, oh, she did for out of spite, or is she really attracted to Bill?
You know, I think she is really attracted to Bill just because she sees his true sexiness and she sees the power that he wields in LA. And, you know, I think Steffy at the moment is very blinded by who Bill is and blinded by his love. And I think in the long run, that's going to be very dangerous for her because, you know, then it ends up, you know, being a question of who she will choose. Like in the long run, will she want Bill or will she still want to run back to Liam?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. If they would allow this character to deal more with her feelings, because I think it's more with her. She does feel guilty for what she did, but at the same time, you may feel guilty, but what are your true feelings? And like you said, it's possible. Well, she can't help but, you know, be attracted to Bill. Yeah. And then, yeah.
So as we come to a close tonight, any final thoughts about the 4 soaps?
Okay, yes, I do. Okay, let's see. General Hospital. The patient of the week was hands down Ava Jerome. Actress Margaret was amazing. She let everyone know her caliber as an actress. It was awesome. As far as Bold and the Beautiful, well, I'm going to give the bold character of the week to Sally. She made it quite clear to host that she wanted room for herself. And the Young and the Restless, let's see, what I'm going to say, a rather agitated Mariah. She, good for you, Mariah, for telling Justin what a low-life move that was. And Miss Dina, you definitely have to give her kudos for taking Graham out before he got hurt. As for Days of Life, we're watching the Days of Steve's life. And hopefully the poisoning will stop. I mean, how many more days can we watch when you're being poisoned? So that's all I have.
So my final thoughts, General Hospital, love the Ava-centric episode, but I don't know what the hell you were thinking with the whole Genie Francis thing. And I hope you reverse your decision, or I hope Genie gets picked up by Days of Our Lives for a Diana Colville return. Speaking of Days of Our Lives, I'm just loving everything, and I'm very intrigued by the whole poisoning mystery with John and Steve. On the Bold and Beautiful front, I absolutely love the New Hope, Annika Noel. She is very beautiful. She's a great actress. I think she is gelling very quickly with the show. And then to finish up my final thoughts, The Young and the Restless. I am really liking what's going on. I just wish more of the stories would get under control. And I wish they would pick a permanent route with Dina. So anyway, Diann, where can they find you on social media?
They can find me on Facebook, Diann Bush Charles.
And you can find me on Twitter at CaseyHutch99. And you can also send me a friend request on Facebook, Casey Stephen Hutchison. To get connected with Daytime Indulgence, follow the site on Twitter and like it on Facebook at DI Soaps. Again, that's at DI Soaps. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.